Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a JoinDOTA Asia League presentation of Mineski versus Orange Esports. This is game 2 of the two-game series between these two teams, and Orange leads 1-0 after a very convincing 42-minute game in which they played just out of this world. I mean, they had such a great advantage with their golden experience momentum, Midases all across the board, as well as some great force staff play, and they were just had the better heroes to initiate with. Mineski were backed into a corner and eventually starved out. So unfortunately, eventually Jay became desperate for farm, and that cost him his life a couple times. They just could not afford at that point in the game. So went pretty smoothly in favor of Orange. We'll see if Mineski can answer back a little bit. This time around, they're going to ban out Sox's Slark as well as the Alchemist, which they still prioritize as a Phase 1 pick. So I disagree in that count, but obviously it just depends on who uses it and how effectively. But there are a lot of changes since 6.80, and I believe he got hit. It was one of the heroes to get the hardest in the Captain's Mode draft, at least. Anyways, we do see that Nyx Assassin and Clockwork were banned out. Those are two pickups that Winter generally selects for his offlane, so maybe we'll see Winter Darkseer come into play, not too sure. But for right now, they're just going to start off with a basic Visage selection. We have seen both supports run it in the past, and CC known for his micro quite effectively, whether in the jungle or in the lane, and Sharky, a great support player in his own right. So we'll see, but for right now, Sarah once again is going to have the Invoker in his arsenal, of course it being the Arsenal Mages, and that leaves OD to be selected by Mineski. So I'm curious to see if they want to rotate, dodge the lanes, and run maybe a Razor in the mid lane, or if they're going to expect something a little bit different. Last time, I expected OD to go up against Invoker, and I thought that would be a pretty good matchup for him, but Mineski thought differently. They actually put Jules on the OD in the safe lane, so they could dual lane with Nyx and Lich. So Sarah was pinned down a little bit, but it seemed like every time they tried to go for a dive, it still became a 1-for-1. There was one time where they got a clean kill on him, but for the most part, it didn't seem to be all that effective. They got some good farm in the Lifestealer, but that's something that you could say about a safe lane Lifestealer as well. So in the end, the lanes are a little bit convoluted, but the bottom line is that both teams are trying to really win out on this early laning stage, because so far it's been pretty momentum based. They drew even for a while, but as soon as one pulled ahead even slightly, that advantage was cemented multiple times over. So Timbersaw is a great hero that once you start getting into that fighting phase, he certainly will be able to put out a lot of pressure, and if he happens to find himself in a 1v1 matchup, I expect a lot from this guy here. Timbersaw is so good at cleaning up CS, harassing the opponent, maybe two at once. But one important thing to keep in consideration is that Mineski doesn't always run Timbersaw in the traditional off-lane role. Mineski occasionally likes to run it as a farming carry of sorts. I mean, Jules picks up the Timbersaw, gets high prioritized farm, picks up a Bloodstone in a very early time period, and from there you get to open up whole new portals of potential for this hero. So we'll see if it actually comes to be, or if we're just going to see it in that traditional role where he can just survive so darn well in the offlane. But either way, it means that he's going to be able to tank up very well against Orange's traditional hero selections. Picking up Visage and Invoker, especially an Exhort Invoker, are very reliant on physical damage output from the Forge Spirits, from the Familiars. There are tons of individuals providing multiple instances of damage output. And although you could argue that Visage's Familiars do high damage to low and their early impact is more important, if you have even a few reactive armor stacks up against that, you're only going to be able to build up your immunity to those little fellows until they pretty much do essentially no damage with a stout shield in consideration.
5 seconds remaining.
Beyond that, they will pick up the Rubik as their first support. Orange has run Sharky on the Rubik many times, and it should be pretty effective for them here, so they have a good tri lane going for them if they want to go for maybe an aggro try. But one thing to take into consideration is the fact that Rubik now has a ton of amazing spells to steal. He can steal the OD's Prison extremely easily, no problem at all with that. And the Chakram from Timbersaw is also spammed out quite liberally, and both certainly have the mana pool to support that. So I do think the Rubik is going to be a pretty key pickup here, and we'll have to see how effectively Sharky can use him. In the meantime, this does mean with these two supports that they have a lot more potential to cover multiple lanes. Visage and Rubik aren't the fastest heroes available. In fact, they're two of the slowest supports in the game. But they have a lot of presence on the lane themselves if they go for that aggro try as I was talking about. And once you start winning a lane, you open it up so that you can smoke rotate to other locations. So we'll see if maybe they can even the odds in the mid lane. Maybe they can crush whatever's carrying in the safe lane. But right now, it does look like Mineski is going to go for a tri-core involving that Timber Saw. Right now, they're going to be certainly running the Enchantress in the jungle. From there, the OD can be on... I honestly can't predict it, if they want to side lane him again or if they want to roll him in the mid. But the bottom line is I believe this is going to be a farming Timber Saw or a farming Storm. Have seen both in the past, but from Mineski specifically, I've seen that farming Timber Saw. So we'll see. If they expect the aggro try, they'll probably put Timber Saw on the top lane as he is the most durable, and have Enchantress coming in and out from the jungle to help. But it also, as unpredictable as these lanes may be, it means that Orange has a harder time in drafting against it. They're going to ban out the Shadow Demon, a great hero to set up Enchantress's creeps, and that's a very wise ban, but maybe unnecessary. I mean, I'd be more worried about maybe like an Abaddon. No, I don't know. It's so weird. This lineup is so weird from Mineski, and they love this scrappy down in the dirt Dota, so it works for them. But all the while, they need something to help their allies survive. If an arrow combo comes out, if you telekinesis into arrow, you need to have somebody to bail you out. A defensive disruption would do that. A defensive imprisonment would do that, as well the aphotic shield from Abaddon. But if they do that, they're running a dual lane of melee, if I'm predicting these lanes even remotely correctly. I don't know. It's really weird, and we'll have to see. But for right now, Orange aren't worried about the defensive nature of their heroes. They're all about the offensive potential. Mirana, pretty squishy. Visage, the most vulnerable hero in the game before Gravekeepers. And Klinks is quite a squishy solo laner himself, but as you can see, that hasn't dissuaded them from picking up all 5 of these heroes. They want to bring the hurt. They want to bring it fast. Strafe can counteract the Enchantress is untouchable pretty quickly, and they have plenty of nukes with Soul Assumption and Fade Bolt, so on and so forth, to deal with that as well. So they should be able to kill off the Enchantress easily. They should be able to burst down on heroes like OD, as we saw last game, and of course they can deal a heck of a lot of damage to towers. The question therein remains, do they have enough disable? Do they have the ability to get arrows off consistently on Storm Spirit to lock him down? Or are they just going to have to accept that he's going to be able to exhaust his full mana pool and play around that? I don't know. But we'll have to see. Anyways, the final selection from Mineski is going to be G on the Lion, and it should be a pretty interesting series as a result. I mean, this is a hero that you can do so much with these disables. A very reliable hero with Hex actually being a 2.5 second duration at rank 1. Pretty amazing. I don't think the mana burn or mana drain will come into play very much, but the bottom line is 2 disables and a very powerful nuke certainly helps against all these squishy heroes. So, great pickup in the Lion. We'll have to see if he's enough to set up these other 3 very powerful core heroes. Oops, sorry about that. Switching over the overlay to my preferred. I don't mind the cherry blossoms. It just, I don't know, it doesn't fit the menacing demeanor of my Dota 2. Anyways, starting things off with a bit of a formal introduction here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the JoinDOTA Asia League. This is Orange versus Mineski, a 2-game series between these teams, and should be a pretty interesting one here. It's just me solo casting up for today. I'm Blaze of Dota Talk. Thank you guys for tuning in, either in Dota TV or Dota Talk TV 2. Starting things off, we do see Orange moving towards the Dire jungle very rapidly with this smoke and deceit. They're going to try to make a play happen here, with the most likely catch-out being on Jay on this OD. The smoke will be dispelling in a moment. Will he be able to survive? Yes. He's just barely making his move in the right direction. And now it's going to be G that's caught out of position. Does skill his Impale Earth Spike, but doesn't even get a chance to use it. Hits a triple Impale to no avail. He will be the first blood drawn by the offlane Mirana. Very interesting. So, as I was saying, I want to introduce the players, but we're already seeing some interesting movement from them. Dropping sentries all across the camps, trying to push Oa out of his own jungle. And it looks like they're accomplishing just that. But as I was saying, let's introduce the players. Starting off with the offlane Mirana. This is going to be Winter picking this up, already with a pretty good start from that first blood. I believe it's actually going to be an aggressive tri-lane here. It's going to be Sharky alongside Winter on the Rubik. This will leave Visage to be played by Insidious C. Like I said, a micro madman that I'm expecting a lot of really good things from. Beyond that, we are going to be seeing in the mid lane Ysera, of course, picking up his signature invoker, leaving Soxes to play Clinks on the side lane here. And this kind of seems to be his comfort zone as well, playing a gank-oriented hero that gets early momentum and early gank items. He just needs some good farm to start things off. But Jesse Vash has his number, and he's going to try to trade hits pretty evenly, especially once he hits towards level 3. Anyways, why is he pinging the guy he's shooting? I don't... Anyways, you know, Mineski is going to be running the OD on the top lane here. Jay does have the prison, at least, to help them out in this situation here. Can nullify some of the mana advantage of Winter and Sharky, as well as a great defensive spell if his ally gets caught out. Speaking of his ally, it's going to be G running on this Lion here. Going to go for an early pull on the top lane, which should reset the Creequilibrium where they need it to be. In the meantime, we do see Jules going toe-to-toe with Ysera. He's running the Storm Spirit in the mid. Already has his bottle coming out on the Courier. And this leaves Oa, who is going to be running on the Enchantress in the enemy's jungle, as he has been pretty fully warded out of his own. That's 2 camps blocked off here. The Sentry completely failed in dewarding. And yeah, really not much going for them at all. So forces Oa into this jungle. He's not going to get many ganks off, but he still might be able to contest very directly with stacks and getting some good early farm. No Midas for him maybe, but still going to get some good momentum when he wants to actually go for a push. As far as CS counts go, we do see that 11 for 3 is going to be the score of the OD on the top lane here. Actually doing pretty well despite being up against a duel, and that's because Rubik's actually been focusing on controlling runes and such. Wow, that guy is slow. 290 MS without boots. He can get in range for the telekinesis, but he's like an old man hobbling along right now. He's actually making his way to scout out the Enchantress, perhaps. I'm not too sure. But either way, right now, yeah, he's gonna. I guess he'll go for it. But they need the Cold Snap at the perfect time in order to actually make this work. And here we know. Gonna wait it out. He was even thinking about the Courier. If he got 2 hits on that, that would have been a ton of gold coming their way. But instead, Sharky makes his move back towards the top lane, just hopping along. Now indecisive. He sees Jules in a pretty good position where, like, maybe we could go on him because he doesn't have Ball Lightning, but instead he ends up just settling for the stack, which is an okay decision for him, but, you know, not the most interesting, for sure. Kind of feel if they had just gone for the Cold Snap, they could have forced Jules back out of the lane. Yes, he has Bottle, yes, he has a single Tango remaining, but if they had gotten a good Telly and Cold Snap, he would have taken a world of hurt. Instead, we see the aggressive movement actually coming out from Oa, or he intended to, but the Smoke of Deceit fails to actually accomplish much at all, and in the end he continues farming. So, Jesse Vash trying to control the pulls a little bit here and there. He did a little bit in the previous set, but in this one he's just taking a little bit too much damage for his own comfort. So, like I said, not too much happening right here. OD, of course, is going to gain control of this top lane, as Winter doesn't have too much right-click damage to his lane. With the Basilius, it's now 59, and of course he's agility, so he doesn't lose much from the Astral Imprisonment, but Jay, in turn, gains so much more. We do see the arrow connecting, and this is a little bit too much distance from the Lion to contribute, but he does have the salve, and he will be put right back up to snuff. I don't really think they can benefit too much from this regen rune. Denying it from Storm Spirit's of the utmost importance, but the full mana Invoker as well as Rubik can't really do too much with it, so not really too much value in that specifically. Oh, well, finally finding a good combination of creeps, but with the Hellbear Smasher only lasting 6 more seconds, I don't think he's going to go for the gank. Just continuing to do the farm game, and we do see him going for 10 CS, which is, in my opinion, actually quite low. If you look for like a Wild Wing stack, you might be feeling a lot better about yourself, but the problem is you're in your opponent's jungle and you might just be handing them gold for their carry in the future. So I understand why they don't really want to go for it, but it is hindering Oa's potential to really move into that mid-game dominance. We do see Winter in a great position, firing the arrow, but oh, Jules walks right into it. Huge damage about to come out, starting with the Sunstrike, following with the Cold Snap. That's a guaranteed kill. Great setup there. Winter with such an amazing prediction. Maybe a little bit of luck, but most importantly, a hell of a lot of skill. Winter just sets up the Invoker there. Really, really nicely done, and completely unexpected from Mineski, which is kind of surprising, considering they did have this Dire Observer ward here the whole time. They definitely saw Winter exit stage right, and they did know that he must have been somewhere in this whole region here. But in the end, the arrow connects, comes right out of that nighttime fog of war, and right into Jules' unsuspecting face. So that does set him back towards form his ultimate, gives Ysera a little bit more breathing room on the mid lane. And of course he already had the CS advantage, currently 31-10 over Jules' 24-3. So that makes up quite a bit for what's been happening on the top lane between Jay and Winter. In the meantime, Winter being pinned down a little bit by Oa's right clicks and Troll Trap. So he's going to have to pop off a salve, but still as formidable as ever. And actually maxing out that arrow, being very reliant on getting those big snipes off. Do you see a Sunstrike TP? Jules doesn't have Electric Vortex already expended to try to contest the rune. So Jules got the double damage as well as found his level 6. But wisely, Ysera had that TP at his disposal and was able to get out of dodge, no problem. Arrow will fly once again, but just going to be a farming arrow, I guess, as they don't get too much accomplished against the hero directly. CDC in the meantime has been pulling a lot, and he is only in a dual lane, not a tri-lane, so he is actually finding a decent amount of experience for a support. Looking over at the experience per minute, we do see 173. He's actually doing just slightly better than Jesse Bash on the Timbersaw, so zoning at its finest. He's actually able to get more experience than his lane opponent. That's really important for him, and of course it gives a free lane of gold to Clinks, who has already found his hand of Midas, is able to do so much frustrating work against this Enchantress now. And for those newer players that don't know what I mean there, it's not only can you Midas Enchantress's enchanted creeps, but now he can also Death Pact her creeps. So Enchantress comes out of the jungle with 2 creeps intact, not for much longer, as you can just instantly one-shot both of these guys, and Oa gets very little out of that his enchantability now. In fact, we see an interesting build from Oa that I didn't notice until this point in time, but we do see that he has he's put 2 points in stats. He's going for a 0-1-1-0 build, possibly only putting 1 point in attendance and enchant all game. I mean, I don't know any better time to skill nature's attendance. The fact that he's ignoring it here, other than its increase in mana cost, implies to me that he really just wants that intelligence for impetus. So a bit of a greedy build as far as skill allocation, but could be effective in the near future. Actually stags a Forward Spirit for himself, at least for the next 20 seconds. Cute little play there. In the meantime, down on bottom, though, as Timbersaw has been forced out... Did I miss a kill? I feel like I missed a kill. I guess I did miss Mirana bringing down Storm. Wow. I must have just been yapping on about Enchantress or something. I don't even know. But the bottom line is that the Storm Spirit has fallen for a second time, and more importantly, the Tier 1 tower has been dropped down on the bottom, so Jesse Bash not able to defend it without this Chakram, and it has cost him dearly, as now the Clinks is farmed as all get out. He's going to move in towards his Orchid Malevolence extremely quickly, and despite his Midas delaying it a decent bit by investing that early cash, we see that he's still going to be able to pick it up at a very good time, maybe 12 minutes into the game. Do you see this? Moonlight Shadow going to set up a kill on Storm. Possibly, they do get the chain stun. They did get the arrow, and they will get the kill. Storm Spirit, a very difficult hero to pin down without familiars, but they just chained the telekinesis into arrow, and they had the damage to finish him off, no problem. Now forcing out the next fortification. They're going to be looking for another easy game, in my opinion. Like right now, they're putting more and more pressure on Mineski to do something, and while Mineski usually doesn't have a problem with fighting, they've shown a lot of passivity this game, and in this series, for that matter. So I feel like they're a little bit off tilt right now. They're going to try to come back in. Maybe they'll get something here. Big Ball Lightning coming in. They get a double stun coming in from G. Very nice, but the Midas negates the Centaur entirely. Ysera will still die. Oh, not getting a Sunstrike on anything. We do see the Prison coming out, and they should be able to lock down 1 as a result, but no, they're not willing to breach the high ground, and they're going to go in full retreat. The end result is a 1-for-1 Invoker for Lion, And while that may be a good trade, they might lose more. We do see 1 familiar stun, 2 familiar stuns, and a soul assumption. They just need a few more right clicks, and Jay will fall, but he has that force staff. They're turning it around hard on Sox with this Sentry Ward. Now, an arrow will connect onto Jules. Will it be enough, though? Jesse Bass gets the last right click, and will bring down the Bone Fletcher. So, Mineski actually swinging back, bringing the kill disadvantage up to 2 for 5. So, they're doing a little bit better here, trying to get some more points on the board and finally grouping up as a team. This is definitely what they needed to do all game last game, and now they're accomplishing it here. So Orange forced their hand, and unfortunately for them, overextended a little bit. Their hand of Midases don't give them that much fighting prowess beyond the, like I said, desolation of the poor Centaur that was on the front line there. So they do take out 2 to 3 of Enchantress's creeps, but they won't actually be able to do much more with just the attack speed boost. They need a little bit more as far as durability and damage output in order to actually keep themselves in a good fighting posture. Because if this Invoker had phase boots in that situation, that OD would be dead. Just the amount of right clicks that came in, how close he was to falling already, yeah, he would have been gone 100%. But in the end, they still are leading in kills. They're still gaining golden experience over time with these Midases, and they just took that tower. So I can't complain about results, that's for sure. We do see an interesting position for Winter. Might be able to get a good arrow off on OJ. He's in a bad position right here, but he seems to be pretty active and moving about with each auto attack, so it's hard to pin him down. They're going to look for a bit of a setup. Sox is in a good position here, but Morano's got to get a good leap arrow off. I don't think it's going to happen, though. He actually canceled a TP, I believe. No, he just forced out for the TP himself, and he will be stunned out. Great familiars coming in from Insidious Sea. I told you guys this guy was good. And he's certainly just flaunting that aspect right here, right now. Great stun, canceling out the TP. 1 TP succeeded, but unfortunately for Jay, his does not. In the meantime, oh, wow! Sharky, is he going to get out of this? Yes, he has such a mana pool that he's able to completely get out of a terribly bad situation. This guy's on 22 HP at the last second. Spell steals the ball lightning that came out of Jules and immediately puts it to work. Escapes from what seems like an inescapable situation. The guy pulls a regular Houdini, and wow, Orange are just completely dominating Mineski. But as Pimp Uncle mentions, right now Mineski look to be doing pretty good in terms of the OD. Because their 1 savings grace is this 4,700 net worth. Really, Force Staff coming out from Jay. If he can use a Force Staff efficiently enough to dodge out familiar stuns, to pick off bad heroes. Oh, this is not going to work out, unfortunately. They drop down 2 Sentry Wards. They will get the prison, but I don't think they get this kill. The telekinesis comes out. They don't have anything to pin him down, and Soxus walks away. And now they're looking at a full 4-on-4, and not exactly what you're looking for when the Timbersaw is the one that's missing. He's their big player, but I understand he needs to farm that mech as quickly as possible. So, yeah, he's doing pretty good right now. Has a great win rate on OD in general, and of course has a pretty good item progression right now. But you compare that to his opposition, 6,200 on both the Midas Clinks and the Midas Invoker. It's going to go from bad to worse. The BOTs, the giving him maneuverability across the map, allowing him to find the right openings, the right potential to farm things up. In the meantime, we do see Winter getting caught out. That's bottom line, them just committing the Finger of Death as well as that Ball Lightning to engage on him. But now Sharky uses that Ball Lightning to engage on Jay, and I really don't know what he thought he was doing there. I mean, obviously you only saw Insidious Sea and Ysera on the front line here, but you gotta expect there's a little bit more than meets the eye with this lineup here. So the end result is OD getting picked off. It's not his first death this game, second one actually, so he has been put further and further behind. But they did get the pick off on Winter, and I guess that's something. So, right now Ysera still happy to put the Exhort Invoker to work, but we do see Jules with half a mana pool might be able to make something happen. Ysera has 1 point in Wex, could technically QQ walk out if he needed to, but it seems like that won't be necessary. Even with the Haste Rune, Jules isn't willing to go for a full dive, knowing that the enemy will just TP to the tower and will force a full retreat. Mechanism comes out for the Visage, and City C getting out at a great time, finding himself 1 kill and 4 assists with the use of that familiars and that soul assumption. In the meantime, farming away. Timbersaw will be looking for that mech in the near future, but it's certainly taking its time, isn't it? I mean, unless I'm reading this wrong, no? He is definitely the one to go for the mech, and no, okay, the courier was what was carrying most of the contents there. So he is looking for 300 more gold to finish that out, but he is getting ever closer to that goal. Once you normalize the mech disadvantage, then I think Mineski are still in a pretty decent spot to fight, but if Clinks finishes his Orchid, oh, arrow, gonna hit, and that is gonna be the death. They don't even need half this stuff, and they will be able to bring down the Storm. I mean, these are just great arrows from Winter, but a little bit of a low reaction from the Storm Spirit. I mean, this is just unexpected kills coming out. Jesse Vash will be dropped down here on the bottom lane. That's just good movement from him with the Cold Snap and with huge familiar damage output. Like I said, reactive armor is a necessity in this situation, and he only has 1 point in it. Usually you see at least 2 points of reactive armor in almost every situation. Like, there's very few games you would only put 1 point in it this long in the game. I understand the damage of Whirling Death is strong, but your survivability against familiars, against Clinks, against Forge Spirits, it's ever important that you get that second point up. So it does cost him here, especially because he's really trying to save that unreliable gold, really trying to get that mechanism up, and so far to no avail. We do see the tier 2 tower drop down, and a substantial advantage coming in for Orange, as we saw last game, but even more prevalent this time around. It took like 12 minutes or so, at least, to start seeing some form of advantage for Orange. From this one, they've got it from minute 1. They got the first blood, and from there, they haven't let go of this advantage. We see the experience is telling much the same story. Now, we do see Sox is in a pretty good position here, but who is he going to go on? He does pop the Orchid. The Force Staff will come out. No arrow to fly just yet. Now it does. They switch their damage over to G. The arrow, however, missing on J. So, in the end, a 1 for 0 that they're happy to take away, but always looking for more and more and more. Orchid already being put to use, but I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to use it on Jesse Vash once more before that mech comes out. Doesn't look like it, as 900 gold has been found, and shortly he will be picking up that much-needed recipe. So, we do see it coming out on Oa, though, and he doesn't have the mech to heal him back up. Will it be enough to kill him, though? No. The damage comes out just a moment too late, and that last right-click will not be sufficient. So, Nature Tenants, keep him up, and he will be able to live to tell the tale. Winter coming in, though. A good flanking position for an arrow. We'll see if they can actually let her fly. Mechanism still not purchased from Jesse Vash. I'm not sure what he's waiting for, since he really needs to make sure he doesn't die once again. He buys it as soon as he feels his life is in jeopardy, but the only benefit he gets out of that is not losing any unreliable gold. So, good. The fact that he delayed it meant he didn't lose anything from that death other than 30 seconds of game time. But they need that mech on the battlefield in order to hold anything, as we can see. G looking for the deny, but it is only just now dropping into deny range. So they'll get it. They should anyways. Yeah, they have 4 surrounding it. Fit better. But we do see in its wake, they go for the Moonlight Shadow just for a quick warding activity. They go drop that. And right now, I'm not sure if the Dire can see it. They're pinging it, though. I'm guessing they know. So, did they drop another sentry just to get vision? No, they just have to Remnant. All they have to do is Remnant and they'll see it. There we go. So, actually pretty good game sense about that. Like, they didn't have any vision of him placing it, and the sentries no longer give that tiny little circle of vision anymore. So they technically didn't know it was there, but they had good sense that that was a possibility with when they saw the movement of Moonlight Shadow from there. I do hear a Piglet. Is there a Hex on the field? No, I must be hearing things. It's a little early in the morning for me. I wasn't expecting to cast the series at all, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm a little bit wonky. Anyways, just looking at the generic item progression, we do see the Force Staff already up. So I'm going to be looking for an Orchid himself. I'm not sure if that's the right decision. If he gets Orchided by the Clinks, he's a dead man walking. I would prefer to see a... there's like 3 different items you could see. You could see a BKB, which is expensive, a Ghost Scepter, which is cheap, or a Yule's, which is multi-utility. But, Orchid? Counter Orchid? If you get Orchided by a Clinks and he's barraging into you, putting a little flower dot on his head is not going to really contribute too much to that specific encounter. So I have to disagree with Jules on this one, but if he has his allies nearby, if he gets defensively imprisoned, or if he just avoids that pick-off potential in the first place, I guess it won't be that big of a deal. And they can benefit a lot from the silence, preventing Ysera from getting his combos off, preventing soul assumptions or spell steals coming out from the Rubik. It's very important that he does get that damage and does get that silence. I feel like he's on the defensive and he's not really respecting that fact. Anyways, for right now, we do see the net worth charts topping out 10.6k for the Clinks, 10.5k for the Invoker, and 7,700 for the OD. Blink Clinks on the field. It's getting more and more dangerous as time goes by. With the final outer tier tower dropping from Mineski. Ugh, this looks bad. Not to mention that Roche hasn't been controlled whatsoever, which is usually what you see from a dire advantage, but they haven't felt comfortable with this control of the territory. There's so many different things against them. There's familiars to scout it out. There's invis heroes putting out pressure across the map. They're losing towers left and right, and they just don't feel comfortable with the map as a whole. And this kind of just seems to be the same story from last game. Looking over at the Invoker's build, as it's always interesting to commentate on exactly how they've allocated their actually. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Is just if you're by your, I mean, like I said, this is not a position you want to be in against the Clinks in the first place. You have to be very cautious about how you proceed, and with him having the Orchid and you just now finishing your Orchid, he can't do that. It doesn't work. So he gets a lot of great passive stats from the Orchid, mana regen, intelligence, so on and so forth, but just not going to help him in a 1v1. He's going to have to actually go for fights now, full 5-on-5, which is not usually how Storm Spirits like to play, especially against an Aegis Clinks. Clinks now has Blink, Orchid, Midas, and Aegis, 1,800 in the bank, 1,900, and really, just all the bloodlust you can imagine. Like he can be so aggressive with this immortality. He really wants to be, and might even look to go on Jay, though he of course does still have that force looking towards Sheep. So no towers, no control, no Roshan, all things looking up for Orange, and just tells the story once again as they look to build up their item set to go for the high ground. The Invoker picking up the Necronomicon, and actually a quick pause coming out as Winter is having some connectivity problems. So pretty important timing, as Jay has just now popped his Force Staff, boosting himself forward. Fortunately, we can't really call it too tactical, as we do see the Radiant Vision didn't see any of this at this point in time. Like, they didn't know it was coming. I mean, even as you move your hand to hit the F9 key, that was when the Force Staff started. You really, there's no way that they were doing it intentionally, though this might actually give them some understanding. I believe these creeps see Jay. I believe they have an idea of what's going on, so intended or not, this is giving them quite a bit of tactical information and a great opportunity for them to respond. Invoker, right now, his Ghost Walk just merely slows him down. If we actually look at the spell tooltip, we can see I think it's negative 30. Yeah, 30. Okay, it doesn't say the negatives on the tooltip, but it is negative 30 movement speed. That would be weird if it gave you increased movement speed and then that benefit reduced and then came back up. I don't know what that would really mean. But anyways, as I was saying, we do see that if he did try to go for a Ghost Walk, which he doesn't have Invoke for 7 seconds for, then he would still be at negative 30 movement speed. So all he really has to do here is pop his Force Staff at worst, activate a few Wexes, and he'll be able to speed himself away, no problem at all. As far as who's approaching, we do see, of course, J and G here with their very high-powered nukes, a disable-oriented build from Lion as he doesn't touch mana drain or stats at all. And from here, Jules is still pretty far away. I mean, he has the gem, so again, Ghost Walk is not an option, and he has enough mana just barely to Ball Lightning without the regen rune, and of course he certainly has plenty to Ball Lightning with the regen rune, but I'm not sure if they really want to commit that in full. If Jules goes, like, as soon as the unpause comes out, if Jules goes with the Ball Lightning, popping the regen rune, dropping an Orchid on Ysera, who they're going to assume is going to Force Staff away, they should be able to pin him down. They don't see his BOT's cooldown, but from our bird's eye perspective, he can't TP away, and of course the Moonlight Shadow won't help if the Storm Spirit does commit. So in this position, it does seem like the Invoker actually might die because of Jules' long-range gank potential with that regen rune. But we'll have to see if they're as confident about it as I am after this pause concludes. We do see Winter coming back in, and we're going to see this action come across as somebody, specifically Jay, seems to be a little bit crayon happy on the minimap here. Drawn away. So, Jesse Bash has that mechanism. Owa has essentially nothing. But it looks like we're good to go, and we'll have to keep our eyes on Jules. Is he going to go? And the answer is no. Force that forward, clean up the creeps. But the problem with that, the movement that I was talking about, is that Dire doesn't have any vision. They have a bottle rune coverage a little bit here, but they don't have anything in their own jungle. And so these two that we saw here could have easily been right here in the trees behind him, could have been anywhere across the map, and it would have been a difficult fight on their hands. So not committing to that, not exhausting his entire mana pool just to get in position for what could have been a very disadvantageous engagement. In the end, Mineski, like I said, their passivity right here is kind of, it doesn't feel like it's them. It doesn't really feel like they're playing a Mineski style, Mineski Dota. But I understand it because they're forced in this corner where they don't have any ward vision, where sentries are coming out left and right, and they really just don't have much to deal with it. Now Xoxus will open up on Jesse Bash. He does have the mechanism, but it's not going to be enough to save him. Doesn't even bother popping it, as the Star Call and the right click from Rana certainly secure that kill. And that gives enough money for Winter to finish up his BKB. So what used to be just a offlaner with some good gank potential turns into a semi-carry. We have Aquila, Drums, Treads, and BKB up on Mirana, who's already found her level 14, so not too shabby, if I may say so myself.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Meantime, Jules is looking for blood, but not going to find much but creeps.
Where's the party?
Going pretty deep, but wrong nook. Oh, dropping low. The Orchid shouldn't be enough. 48 HP is the concluding total, as Xoxus brings him quite low indeed, but just not sufficient. And I want to go back to builds a little bit while we still have a small opportunity before this big push comes in. Owa, no points in Untouchable, now putting points in Nature's Attendance. But did commit at least a few points to stats. This is, what, 3 to all stats plus 6. So yeah, he's committed three levels of skills to stats. We do see jumping in, they're going to pull in Insidious Sea, but he has 2 familiars, and his disposal will be enough. No, Finger of Death kills him off, but Jules gets hit by an arrow. The Sunstroke comes through, and he's down to 170. The jump in, the Star Call will be connecting. Wow. 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 I don't know about that one. I've not experienced too many interactions quite like that, but the Star Call started. Or what the hell it's called in Dota. Starstorm. What? But yeah, Starfall started and he ball lightning and still got hit by it, so that was pretty interesting. The gem was recovered as it hit the deck, but I haven't really seen quite an interaction like that. Anyways, Clinks will be forced that forward. Actually, shaped up very nice job by Jay on the OD. Very good usage. Offensive force staff. Another Hex coming out from the Lion this time, and they will get a double kill. Twice over on the same target, but 2 deaths of the Clinks nonetheless. Bathed in eternal hellfire, he will be forced to relive his death once again. A courier kill at the very least, but they're going to go for something more. Ysera has his VOTs, but they should have enough disables to bring him down here. Yeah, damage output, Ysera will die. They still have this gem, and they still will get the kill. Sharky dropping low. Jules doing a lot of damage. Definitely going to be enough, but he should pay with his life. There's the arrow. There's the kill. Winter getting a dominating streak in the end. Where's the gem, though? Did they pick that up? Yeah, Winter is the one who will claim it in the end. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Losing their tier 3 on top. A great start off and making the best they could. Doing the best they could out of that situation. They will force forward, but the stuns from the familiars are cooling down, but Winter, oh! He got the leap. He lives with 20 HP. Wow, wow, wow. Throws in an arrow for good measure. Will connect onto Jay. And the soul assumption. They will get a turnaround kill on the OD. JoinDOTA at its finest. What a player, this guy. I have not seen something like that in quite some time. Jumping in, getting force hexed, but the hammer just didn't do enough. He's only level 14. I don't want to say he only has sheep and force, because that's good. But it's just not enough to bring down this Mirana that has farmed up a 1600 HP pool. So Winter survives. He gets away, and then he gets a turnaround for the Visage. Insidious Sea and Winter playing it up. And that's a pretty big kill, as previously OD was the one thing that they had to worry about. Mineski are really counting on him to make the biggest impact with his 11,000 net worth, and just being taken down a notch by that kill. So again, we did see some great plays from Jay with that force hex on the Clinks. He really didn't have anything that he could do to stop that from happening. Now has the BKB. Is being pursued, pops the BKB. Will he actually let anything fly? The Orchid comes out on Jesse Bash, but he's able to force and TP away, no problem. The Sunstrike doing the damage, and he will die to the Orchid. But a Ball Lightning TP might speed Jules away. No, he will be bursted down. Unfortunate for him. And for, of course, the Timbersaw. Looking for a pickoff on Jay, but no mana for Sharky means that's not going to be an option. So yeah, pretty brutal. If for those that you don't know, the amplification of Orchid Malevolence, the damage occurs at the end of the debuff, and it takes the difference of HP from when it started to when it ended, similar to how Maledict on Witch Doctor works. So essentially, if you heal during the duration with Magic Wand or Mechanism or something, you actually might be able to nullify all the amplification. But the bottom line there was he took 100% to about 30% HP in full damage from Clinks, from the Sunstrike, and it was just enough that at the end of his TP, he still died because the Orchid expired. So that's how, of course, Jesse Bash fell, and we saw with our own eyes the destruction of Jules on the Storm. So they are just rolling all over them right here, and it's going from bad to worse. They're going to try to go on Ysera, but everybody and their brother has 4 staffs right now, and it's hard to pin anybody down. They still get the Orchid off. They can follow up with a Hex. His orb's being left behind as he moves forward, but this just gives an opening. A Deafening Blast to stop it! Will he actually die? The last right click, yes he will, but Jules will be the goose that's chased while this teamfight breaks through. Oa healing up with Days of Tendons won't be enough as Winter delivers so much physical damage, and Insidious Sea delivers the wall up. That 1-2 punch with that Soul Assumption. Now popping the Invis. It should be enough to speed them away. Jay now getting Orchided. The right click's coming through. A big arrow onto G. Easy pickings for them. They will claim 1. Will they claim 2? Blinking forward. Yes, the right clicks are Jesse Bash barely getting away with this Timber Chain. The last right click not to follow. Almost to the fountain. 10 HP he drops down to. But although he may survive, the rest of his allies are gone, and GG is called. In conclusion, Mineski dropped down 26-8 in favor of Orange Esports, taking a 30-minute game and both games in this 2-game series. JoinDOTA Asia League, finest games you can ask for. Orange just showing how strong this new lineup can be. Combination of Insidious and Orange, bringing Malaysia Dota back. Really, really great plays from them. 10-1-8, Winter Mirana. And I got to say, it all started from that arrow on the mid lane. Jules walked right into it. Can't blame him with that nighttime vision, but it did cost them dearly in that momentum sense. Storm Spirit wasn't able to play a gank-oriented hero, and the ganker became the gank key as Clinks got farmed as all get out. Getting the Midas and getting the Orchid in an amazingly powerful time. And from there, just rolling the game away. They got so many kills. They got so many towers, and it's just a rerun of Game 1. Orange take it away and show how dominant they indeed can be. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the JoinDOTA Asia League. This has been a 2-game series between Orange and Mineski, taking it 2-0. And this has been Blaze of Dota Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want to check me out and check out my future commentating over on twitter.com/blazecasting. I stream over on twitch.tv/DotaTalkTV2. And I will be covering up something technically tonight for me, but it should be in the afternoon for those on the other side of the world and towards the Southeastern Asia. So if you do want to check out some awesome games between, I believe, Philippines and Malaysia. That's going to be at 1400 Singapore time, and it's going to be actually 1 a.m. for me, so I'll rest up. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this spontaneous cast, and we'll see you guys in the next one.